while the Ravens have soared high since that team could not have gotten off to a better start.
You'll be on this journey with me.
Hey guys, now joined inside Nats Park.
What's going on? Just after 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening, March 20th, a little impromptu live stream because the Ravens look to be interested in free agent wide receiver Michael Gallup, who began his career back in 2018 with the Dallas Cowboys and now is on the open market. So all that and more is coming up in this special edition. This live stream is brought to you by my friends at Lactose Vodka. Lactose Vodka is a Baltimore-based, patent-pending, high-alkaline, gluten-free premium vodka with added electrolytes. You can find a store near you via lactosevodka.com/find Lactose, or just ask your local liquor store in the Baltimore area. More information on Lactose can be found in the show notes below. So let's get started with Adam Schefter's report just a short while ago here. Again, it's just after 6 o'clock. We're live right now. And Gallup is scheduled to visit Thursday, that's tomorrow, with the Baltimore Ravens, who continue to look to add depth to their wide receiver room, add more talent around Lamar Jackson. And this is a guy who we got to talk about a little bit, because while he has fallen off in terms of what he once was, particularly in the 2019 and 2020 seasons prior to his ACL tear, this is somebody who, look, at this point, barring some wild trade, right, the Ravens are going to have to add to their wide receiver room through two ways. This secondary, right, third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth wave of free agency, which is would be this, or through the draft, which we all hope comes on day one or day two in the form of, in my opinion, what I would hope is a big body, contested ball catching wide receiver. And Gallup has been that throughout his career to date. So let's take a look at just some of his intangibles, some of his measurables. 6'1", 198. He's been around for 6 years and counting. Same draft class as Lamar Jackson back in 2018. He was the third-round pick for Dallas at 81 overall. Played his college football at Colorado State. Transferred, I should say, to Colorado State for a couple of years. He was a consensus All-American in 2017, two-time All-Mountain West team. So somebody who, again, like this isn't just a nobody, but because he hasn't been the same player since that torn ACL, that was probably one of the main factors as to why the Cowboys released him last week with a post-June 1 designation. So here's more on just sort of the Michael Gallup story in Dallas. So about 2 years ago, roughly, they signed him, Dallas did, to a 5-year, $57.5 million contract extension. They also at the time, basically around 2 years ago or so, they traded Amari Cooper to Cleveland for a 5th rounder and a 6th round pick swap. And that came just a few days after, again, signing Gallup to the 5-year, $57.5 million contract extension. Both moves have not exactly aged well from a front office perspective for Dallas. When you already think about the injury history and when you think about what Gallup was prior to awarding him that extension, it clearly becomes apparent that was risky. Like, this dude had great seasons, strong seasons in 2019 and 2020. And he was en route to doing so through the first half of the 2021 campaign until, again, he suffered a torn ACL. Since then, it's just been downhill. And here are the statistics that kind of prove that. Let's make this big screen. So again, 2019, 2020, the guy was cooking. 66 for over 1,100 in 19, 59 receptions for over 840 yards in 2020, and 35 for 445 through 9 games before tearing his ACL. So he was en route to putting up a similar season for the 3rd straight year until he tore his ACL. And you've seen what's happened since. 2022, 39 for 424, 2023, 34 for 418, and he hasn't played in all of those games. He played in 17 in 2023, but only started 13, and then in 2022 played in 14, started in 11. So you can see the downward spiral in terms of production, but there's always context that comes along with that. And you got to remember, from a usage standpoint, the fact that he's playing with CeeDee Lamb, the fact that until Amari Cooper was traded to Cleveland, he also was on the roster. Like, that has to be taken into account here. And so I think my big synopsis here, kind of instantly reacting to this move, if you will, is I think the Ravens should check the medical and take a look at where he's at. You can't expect to bring in these blue chip players at any position right now, much less wide receiver, given how late we are, so to speak, in the free agency process. We know they're probably going to try and add a playmaker in the draft. So at some point, you got to kind of ask yourself, like, okay, what's most realistic? And to me, Michael Gallup would be realistic. You know, the salary, the money, not gonna kill you at this point in his career. It would fill a need. You got to remember the wide receiver room with OBJ all but saying it was over. I mean, he essentially did. He didn't come out and say that specifically, but his time in Baltimore is coming to an end. I think we all can agree on that. But all of a sudden, with OBJ gone and Zay Flowers potentially facing an early season suspension for what's taking place this offseason, you're looking at a wide receiver room week 1 right now, if the season starts tomorrow, which it doesn't, which would consist of Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Tylan Wallace, and then you got to add in the tight ends. So clearly there needs to be another free agency acquisition, and there needs to be a day 1 or day 2 or really any type of big body wide receiver that joins this group next month in April's NFL draft. We'll see how they choose to let the board fall to them. We know they have the 30th overall pick. They have the 62nd overall pick in the first and second rounds, respectively. Gallup is a dog. Like, at one point in his career, this dude could be looked at and was looked at as your traditional X. Big body, right? That jump ball ability, contested catch ability, physical, right? He's going to win his one-on-one matchups. But again, the big question is, at this point in his career, what does he have left? Right? What does he have left, and what's he looking for, monetarily speaking? Let's hear from some of you in the comments section below. I know some of you are really adamant that Zay's not getting suspended. Every time I bring it up, you say Zay's not getting suspended. I hope for his sake he's not getting suspended. But we can't just sit here and act as if there isn't still an NFL. I know from a due process and the law and that side of things in Baltimore or Massachusetts or wherever that was, both police departments were involved. He's been cleared by due process. But from the NFL's code of conduct policy standpoint, he has not been. That remains an open investigation with no update as of, weeks ago now, since Jeff Zaribek reported on that. So again, I only mention it because that's the reality of what the Ravens could be faced with maybe for 2 to 4 games. You know, potentially 2 to 4 games could be a timeline that would fit past timelines to similar situations of suspended players for similar circumstances. So all I'm saying is the Ravens got to make sure they have a contingency plan in place, regardless of whether or not Zay is available week 1. And I think that starts with a signing like this, whether it's Michael Gallup or somebody else that's out there, right, that would qualify. And obviously adding receivers to the draft. Now, some of you are saying, look, you have to treat Isaiah Likely as a receiver. You have to treat Mark Andrews as a receiver. And I know those guys embody quite a few of those traits, especially Isaiah. And they can be that in the Ravens offense. And they've proven that they can be that. But do you really want to have to rely on tight ends? That's all due respect to those guys. I know they're capable of being those dudes, but that's not a place that you want to rely on. That's not an area that you want to rely on. So let me know what you think in the live chat. Are you passing? Are you passing on Michael Gallup? Are you taking a flyer? What would you be comfortable with numbers-wise? I hear you, Jim. Jim doesn't want me to put that energy out there, but I'm just trying to be as real as possible and set us all up for a realistic expectation for what could be coming before the start of the season. Diego, just a correction, Bobby, he tore his ACL end of 2020, and those games he played in 2021 were the last 9 games of that season. So he actually had a decent first 9 games after the ACL injury. Did I screw that up? Let me see. I have it here that it was the 2021 season. Could be wrong from what I read up on. Tev doesn't like Nelson Aguilar? You don't like Nelly? I thought Nelly served as a really solid kind of veteran wide receiver option for the Ravens. Certainly better than Pat. Let me just close this window here. Some neighbors are outside. Oh. To me, Nelly served a role better than any other, and there's not a lot of competition in this category, but to me, Nelly has served a role that I think's been better served than the Willie Sneads, the Seth Roberts, the Deshaun Jacksons. I mean, think about these other guys. Des Bryant even came through for a cup of coffee. Like Nelly's numbers, much like OBJ, didn't pop out, pop off the page at you. But I can think of several plays come to mind where I was just, whether it's like third down conversions, fourth down down the stretch in the postseason, like he was reliable. He was somebody who you could count on. He was a locker room guy. And the fact that they brought him in for a very similar 1-year team-friendly deal to what they did last year, I like what they have in Nelly. I'm going to open up the guest lines here to let everybody get a comment in. If you're interested, you can join the show by clicking on that link that I just threw in the live chat so I can get your thoughts. Appreciate you, Greg, for the super chat feature donation. Thanks for the love. If you love the content, then I love you. Get better's right too. Like Gallup's only 6 years in to his NFL career. People want to write guys off, and sometimes you should be writing people off and players off because ACL tears can be extremely debilitating. But I kind of want to give like Michael Gallup a chance. If you're just joining the show, by the way, here's the news. Fresh off the scene here. Michael Gallup is going to visit the Ravens tomorrow. It's according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. I see some of you are really confident that Rashad Bateman's going to be that guy. I wouldn't hold your breath. I would not hold your breath. He took a good step forward last year, but I haven't seen a whole lot to make me feel really confident that he can be anything more than a role player, aside from that one statistic in terms of like separation. Remember, like at the midway point of the year, that chart that came out that showed like all the qualified wide receivers and like target share and separation. And Rashad was way out in front of the entire pack. And so like aside from that, which is extremely encouraging, and maybe some of the like kinks that he and Lamar are trying to iron out between the two of them, that gives you some optimism. But damn, he's been in the league for a minute now. Terry thinks Bateman is a number 3 at best. Possibly. Jay wants to know what's going on with the O-line. Well, just like an hour and a half ago, I put out a video on Andrew Voorhees, who is a second-year player now out of USC, a former 7th rounder. The Ravens traded back into the draft after being done in April of 2023. Remember, Voorhees tore his ACL at the combine, then put up some ridiculous number of bench press. I think honestly it was like 38 reps after tearing his ACL. So nobody's going to question this guy's resolve, this guy's toughness, this guy's resiliency. But I just put up earlier that Mel Kiper had a lot to say about Voorhees and the fact that he could be a plug-and-play starter. Matter of fact, is what he said. Here's that tweet. I shared this earlier. Ryan Mink transcribed something that Mel recently said about Voorhees. Quote, he's a guy that I think is a plug-and-play starter at guard this year. It's like the Ravens having an extra 2nd or 3rd round pick this year. Wow. Remember, a lot of guys wrote this dude off after the ACL tear. The Ravens took a flyer on him, and who knows, a year later, he could very well be a plug-and-play starter, having lost. The Ravens have lost both of their starting guards now in free agency. What? John Simpson joined the New York Jets. Kevin Zeitler just joined the Detroit Lions. So they've got more questions than answers right now on the O-line. But Tyler Linderbaum is a staple. He's not going anywhere. He's a centerpiece for you, pun intended. Ronnie Stanley with the rework deal will be on essentially a prove it type of situation for him. And he's set to hit free agency as a direct result of that rework deal after the 2024 season. So instead of after the 2025 season. So that's significant. But you can pencil him in as the starter at left tackle. If Voorhees has got the opportunity to win left or right guard, perhaps right guard, then maybe Ben Cleveland develops into what we all hope he could be and is the starter on the opposite side, on the left-hand side. And then maybe you go ahead and draft one of these tackles from what's supposed to be a historically deep class at the position. And all of a sudden at right tackle, you can have a 3-way competition between Patrick McCary, Daniel Falele, and whoever you choose to bring in through the draft. So a lot of people are upset and are concerned about the draft. About the offensive line. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them just yet. Here is a look at that projected line. PFF put this out earlier. Let me know what you guys think. Jamie suggests giving Michael Gallup a 1-year, $4.5 million prove-it deal, focus on the offensive line and secondary in the draft. Yeah. That figure seems like it would be okay. Seems like it would be relatively fair. Yeah. Simon, if you're asking if this is somewhat of a rebuild, I'm not sure what group you're asking about specifically. But if you're talking about the offensive line, well, no doubt. It's a even John Harbaugh referred to it as that. It's a complete rebuild. Aside from Ronnie and Tyler Linderbaum. So that's that. And some people think I'm being a little bit hard on Rashad Bateman. I get it. You're sensitive to the former first-round pick. I'm rooting for Rashad. I'm rooting for him. Just don't have a whole lot of confidence. Tev Dennis, we need guys for the jump ball, big body wide receivers. We'll bring in Gallup, take a flyer on him, right? Something team-friendly. And then bring in a big body wide receiver who hits those traits. It's going to be a bunch that are available at 30. Perhaps Keon Coleman falls there. Xavier Legette going to be around? We'll have to see. Let's open up the guest line, shall we? It's been a minute since I've had a guest on the channel. That's what happens in the offseason. But Sarah and I are doing a brand new, you may have noticed, brand new format. Hopefully it hasn't screwed up your guys' schedule too much. But we've been doing 12 noon lunch hour live streams Monday through Friday, which we've really been enjoying. I think Sarah's enjoying it too much. We both have flexibility like through the roof. Anyway, my man, it's been so long. Manuel, welcome back into the channel, brother. How's your off season going?
Recovering from that loss. Let's just
Well,
put it.
how about this then? How about we start with this? Do you think that bringing in Derrick Henry puts you over the edge in terms of recovery? Have you fully recovered from the AFC loss?
To be honest about the Derrick Henry signing, I think it doesn't give us over the hump because this problem is still what you're saying. We need that 50-50 ball guy because Lamar, what does Lamar want? Lamar wants to throw those long passes, and if the guy's not open, at least jump in and get it. You know?
Yeah.
And I think Gallup can help, but here's my thing. He doesn't move the needle enough. I think what
he
you
doesn't move
need
the
is
needle.
no. It's like you bring him in. Okay, give him a contract, a proven year, like Hollywood. You know that type of contract. And in the draft, you get a guy like Keon Coleman in order for them to actually, Gallup to teach not only Coleman, but also Rashad and say, hey, you two, like, especially Rashad, because Rashad is a first read guy. And after that, it's like, I don't know how to play street football. I don't know how to go to those street football 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
Isaiah likely knows how to. Save flowers in the sense of way he can, but he's, short. Even though he's my height, but he's short for the NFL standards.
I was going to say, dude's like 5'8", 5'9", 170, 180 or something.
He's 178, I think. So he's
like
my
that.
height, but for NFL standards, he's small. So I think Gallup would be that young veteran that we still need, even though he has the I word. Let's hope this year he doesn't with us, if he signs with us. But we still need to get a wide receiver on the draft that is that type. Have Gallup teach, say, Rashad and Keon how to go and get it, how to be the dog in that fight.
Yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. I think right now, again, we don't want to pencil this. We want to pencil this in, not pen and write this in ink. It's just a visit. It's just a visit for Michael Gallup tomorrow. But let's just say, for shits and giggles, that they want to come to terms with Michael. It's something that's in that $4 million range, something around there, right? There's not a lot of risk for the Ravens. Michael kind of gets to prove himself outside of the Dallas side of things and show that he can still be that guy that he was pre-ACL tear. If that's the case, they have a one, or at least somebody who acted as a one, and I'm not including the tight ends in this conversation. So all due respect to Mark and Isaiah, we know they're going to be very involved in the passing attack, but I'm strictly talking about wideouts. We know they have a one in Zay, or at least somebody who acted like one last year. You've got somebody who we all know has the potential to be a bona fide number two in Rashad Bateman, but has not consistently shown that yet, some of which is Lamar's fault, some of which is Rashad's. You have a somebody who is you feel good about in that 3 or 4 category in Nelson Aguilar. And if you're bringing in Michael Gallup, he would fill that same exact role. If you want to make Nelly 3, then Gallup could be 4 in my mind. Or you want to make Gallup 3 and Nelly 4, I think that to me would be that they would go hand in hand. And then the back end is stapled by Tylan Wallace, right? And so, or Tylan Wallace and a day 1 or day 2 rookie wide receiver who they hopefully bring in. So to be honest with you, while the room seems a little bare right now and a little uncertain because OBJ is now gone, right? We don't know what the beginning of the season is going to look like and have in store for Zay. They are one signing away and one day 1 or day 2 draft pick away with the tight ends, with the addition in the backfield, with, of course, the guy who makes this entire engine go in Lamar.
Yeah.
From being right there.
Yeah, you're right. I think here's the thing, because I've discussed it with Sutton from the Purple Rain podcast, is that OBJ did his part. Number one, bring Lamar back. Number two, give his experience to the wide receiver core and how to actually play spread offense. And number three, give Lamar more trust to the wide receivers during that season, because I've never seen Lamar throw to wide receivers more in past years, even though it is the Greg Roman's offense. But still, in those times when we needed him to come back, it was wide receivers. It was always Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown. But in this case, it's like, oh no, even if we are on the lead, it's like I go to Say, I go to Rashad, or who was it, Odell, Nelly. I trusted more on wide receivers than tight ends, in my opinion. But I feel like we still need to see. I still need to see Rashad being used as a first read. He's open on the first read. That's it. That's his gimmick. He's open on the first read. If you use him as a first read, if he's not open, we know Say can actually be street ball, and that's it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother, for stopping by. It's always good to hear from you. And
hey, Bobby, thanks for the opportunity.
Hey, I know you're not going to be coming to our draft party since you're in Mexico, but I hope you'll tune in virtually that evening.
Yeah, I'll tune in. Guarantee.
I appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon. Hasta pronto. Manuel from Mexico City checking in, as always, for the Ravens flock. Just want to let you guys know, just as you heard there, Sarah and I had a pretty big announcement that came down the feed earlier in the week that we're super, super fired up about. And that is our first ever in-person marathon draft party live stream. Coming to you from Soundstage in downtown Baltimore, right across the street from Power Plant, 124 Marketplace, Thursday, April 25th, 7 o'clock. Tickets are now available. $40 gets you in the door. That includes a premium tailgate buffet, potential giveaways, memorabilia, opportunities to hang out and chat with Sarah and I, some past and present players, and hopefully many more experiences as we work our way up to the 30th overall selection in the 2024 NFL Draft. There'll be video boards that we can watch. And, of course, Sarah and I will be entertaining throughout the entire evening. And I just wanted to say thank you to Soundstage. Wanted to say thank you to all of you who made this opportunity possible. And just so you know, those tickets are available right now on Ticketmaster. The link is in the show notes below. What other questions do you guys have about the news that just came down the pike a short while ago? Adam Schefter, free agent wide receiver Michael Gallup is scheduled to visit the Ravens tomorrow. We're going to have to take a look at what he's all about medical-wise at this point. As I mentioned earlier on in the stream, he is still trying to kind of make that full recovery back to what he once was in the 2019 and 2020 campaigns. But there are some questions out there. I'm sure the Ravens will be looking to get down to the bottom of those questions during tomorrow's visit. Let me ask you this. Who is your day one or day two dream wide receiver that's a realistic dream for the Ravens to draft coming up next month? Is it Keon Coleman? Is it Xavier Legette? Who is it? There's a bunch of names out there that could be available. Is it Ladd McConkey? Something tells me he might be off the board by the time they pick. Jermaine Burton, Roman Wilson, Polk, Pearsall. There's a lot of dudes in this draft. It is a deep, deep draft at both the tackle and wide receiver positions. Seems like some of you are not sold on Michael Gallup. We know Tripp is in on Keon Coleman, that's for sure. I know you've been in on him for the jump now. And you just hit me up too. I know you want to be involved in our draft party. You know how to hit me up. We can get you in there. Hope you're enjoying your off-season trip. My Nizzle J Jizzle popping in for an off-season cameo. You know I love that. How you doing, brother?
What up, Bobby? How you doing, my guy?
It's great to hear you, man. It's been a while, right? It's kind of weird this time of year when you don't really hear from anybody.
Yeah, it's been a while, my guy. It's good to see you, man, and good to hear from you again. You heard me?
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Likewise. How you feeling about this Gallup report?
It depends on the money. Gallup, I mean, you touched on everything, man. The health situation. Can he get back to form? Because his first 2-3 years, he was solid. He was good on the Cowboys, who had like two other receivers ahead of him.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, it's been down for him, and it's questionable if he can get back to that form.
No doubt. Yeah, I'd be
Very
comfortable like in that 4 to 6 range, I think. Like 4 to 6 mil.
Yeah,
Bring him in. He can be that 3-4, right? He and Nelly can kind of compete for that third wide receiver slot.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and Zay and Rashad are going to be there, and then if you want to bring in one of these big body wide receivers as a rookie to learn from that group and compete, then to me that's attractive to me, given what you have at tight end, and now given what you have at in the backfield.
yeah, yeah. And I was listening to you earlier. Different people takes on Rashad Bateman, and it's all valid. But I like Bateman. I think he would do better if he had more opportunities. And
I
go
think
ahead.
it's such a complicated. Sorry to cut you off. It's such a complicated storyline when it comes to Rashad, because it really is. There's a number of pieces to this puzzle, and as I mentioned earlier on in the stream, God damn, does anybody separate better than this guy? Does anybody route run better than this guy?
And and half of them times he was either getting overthrown by Lamar, he was getting overlooked, not seen, so he didn't get those, opportunities.
And if a fraction of those overthrows are accurate, his season looks completely different statistically.
A lot better than the numbers shown last year.
It looks completely different statistically. It looks completely different just eye test overall. And so that is a sign of encouragement, for encouragement and optimism. But at the same time, it's like, damn, how long is it going to take?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take? Because they got a big decision looming with him. And I can't confidently sit here and tell you that he's going to be worth that hefty price tag that comes along with picking up a fifth-year option.
That's pretty soon too. When is the day where they have to make the decision on the 5th-year option?
May 1.
May 1.
Right around the corner.
I think they already made the decision, because ain't too much he can show in between now and then.
Yeah, right. Well, I was going to say, he's done all he can show, unfortunately, for Rashad. And the Ravens are now going to be rolling the dice on his development, right? They're rolling the dice on his development. He is coming off his first full healthy season, which is certainly a positive step in the right direction in that category for him.
Yes.
But they would be rolling the dice, right? They would be rolling the dice and saying to themselves, hey, we hope by measurement, by estimation, by our vision for what we feel like Rashad's trajectory is, we are taking a calculated risk, a calculated investment here. And I can't confidently tell you that would be the right one to pay him.
Yeah, I don't like I say, I do like Bateman. He has, underwhelmed from being a first round, draft pick. And like I say, I do like him, but I don't think they're gonna give him the fifth year option.
Now, one reason why, though, is it buys you if you don't want to spend crazy top of the market money on wide receivers like all these teams seem to be doing. Look at what Cleveland just did.
You can get that one more year.
I mean, look at what Cleveland just did with Judy.
Judy
might be the most unproven wide receiver in the league.
He got $41 million guaranteed.
And listen, That's nothing against, okay? That's nothing against Jerry. I'm not taking a shot at him. But all I know is the people that I know from Denver have made it very clear that all he was a disappointment and a headache. And what does Cleveland do? They do exactly what we're accustomed to seeing them do. Let's just pay up. Let's just throw money around and hope for the best. So anyway, interesting conversation to have. I have my skepticism, my reservations about picking up that fifth-year option. But on the alternative, you got to remember that this wide receiver market in the year that is 2024,
Yeah,
that would be looked at as a discount compared to other deals.
because it's steady going up.
Exactly.
And it'll be, you say, it'll be like 14, 15.
It'd be, what is that number? Adam 78 in the channel here. I got to check that, but Adam has it at 13 and a half. So hopefully he was doing his research accordingly there.
So okay. Yeah.
I got to check that though. I assume Adam's on his P's and Q's, but
Yeah.
but I got to check. I think that's in that ballpark. I originally thought it was like 11, between 11 and 13. So that sounds right. And then, Dre Dog's kind of putting at something here. He's bringing this up too. Like, what about Odafe Owe? I mean, that's a guy who's took a step in the right direction, no question.
I think they might give him the fifth-year option.
I would agree with that. I think he has earned the opportunity to be gambled on, if that makes sense, because of the development, because of the pressures last year, because of I love what Chuck Smith has done to that room. So if there's somebody that I feel more confident that's deserving of it,
it's Owe.
It would be Owe. Yeah, it would be Owe. Now remember, the draft is prior to the deadline for that fifth-year option. So how they handle the draft?
Okay, yeah, they'll be able to get the draft and see what they got, and then be able to make a decision.
Yeah. Well, remember, like, what I mean by that is like the draft. Exactly, like the draft could almost dictate how they make these decisions May 1, just a few days after the draft wraps up. So anyway,
Okay.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you for dropping by, brother.
Okay, I appreciate you too, man, for having me.
Hey, we gonna see you at the. We gonna see you here?
No, like I told you, I stay way in Louisiana.
I know.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna catch it on here though, and show the support. I've been watching y'all. Even though I don't know how many times you open up the guest line. It seemed like it's been a while. All the ones I watched, it was just one time, and I was kind of late catching it. But I've been watching y'all. I've been watching you, and I've been watching you and Sarah. I'm still shaking back from that loss, man. I was very hurt behind that.
I hear you, man. Get yourself right, and before you know it, we'll start to incorporate daily guest stuff. We're very much tinkering right now with how we're doing business. So appreciate all your patience and support, and let King Henry get you back right between the ears. All right.
Already. Also, tell Sarah I say hi. I miss hearing her voice. Well, I hear on TV, but it's different when I be on the phone talking to y'all. So tell her I say hey, and you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again later, my guy.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate you.
All right, bye.
Thanks for calling in, my Nizzle J Jizzle. It's good to hear from you guys too, Manuel, as well from Mexico City, because he's right. I mean, let's be honest. Once you get to the off season, sure, we're still doing daily content, but not as much in live form until the last week and a half that we've been experimenting with this new format. So we hope that you guys have been enjoying it, and we hope that you'll consider popping on and checking out tickets for our first ever marathon draft party live stream. Thursday, April 25th, opening night of the draft, 7 o'clock at Soundstage in downtown Baltimore, right across the street from Power Plant. Todd Brown thinks I am blacker than Max Kellerman. Okay. I'm not sure how that qualifies as being black in the first place. But I appreciate that. I like to hang in a bunch of different circles. That's my thing. But I got to run to dinner. We're still down here in Florida for my annual working vacation. Pops and I are going to have a little cookout in the backyard and hopefully go out for a drink or two and see what the heck happens here with Michael Gallup. So I appreciate you guys, as always, for dropping by the channel. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to what I'm building here in my Bobby Baltimore YouTube space. You can go check me out on Twitter as well. We're streaming live on there, which Sarah and I will now do daily at noon for our lunch hour live stream. So, and she just tweeted. Sarah just tweeted. You knew it wasn't going to be long until she commented on the Michael Gallup news. Let's see what she has to say. Okay, Sarah says, Michael Gallup, 28, scheduled a visit with the Ravens. He was a post-June 1 cut by Dallas last week. The 2018 third-round pick played above expectations until he had an ACL tear in 2021, like we mentioned, which, as we've also covered, has impacted his production ever since. Then she goes and lists out the production from 18 to 2023, compares it to OBJ, who finished last year with 35 catches for 565 yards and 3 TDs for Baltimore. They're different players, but Gallup is capable of replicating similar production in Baltimore, presumably, you would hope. I would hope, obviously, at a much cheaper price. He's 6'1", 198, made a name for himself in Dallas, making circus-like receptions and catches and contested catches. If Baltimore were to sign him, it would not count against the compensatory pick formula, which is what something I forgot to mention. And could a fresh start be what's needed for Gallup to return to his former glory days? That's what Sarah asks her Twitter audience. Maybe she's watching this right now. Anyway, appreciate you guys for dropping by. I went a little bit longer than I had anticipated. But as always, if you want to get involved, you can do so by supporting me through Patreon, joining the Bobby Baltimore Patreon community. That information is included in the show notes below. You can connect with me on Instagram this offseason at Bobby Baltimore for some personal related content and also Baltimore sports related content as well. So with that, I'm going to run. Next time you'll hear from us is 12 noon tomorrow inside the vault across all platforms for a noon lunch hour live stream with my co-host Sarah Ellison, and I will talk to you then, if not before. Special thanks to Lightos Vodka for being the small business Patreon title sponsor of this episode, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.